And now a warning issued by the Met Office. Heavy snowfall across much of the country overnight has led to extremely hazardous driving conditions. Motorists are advised not to make any journey unless it's absolutely necessary.
Yes, well, that's a fat lot of good, isn't it, when you're 100 miles north of the Arctic Circle. Up here, right at the top of Sweden, the snow is so thick and lasts for such a long time. They've made a hotel out of it. All the furniture in the 37 bedrooms is made from ice, and so is the chapel, and so is the cinema. And yes, it is jolly chilly in here, with the temperature kept at a constant -3. The fire, it's not real, or my chair would melt. And welcome to the front desk, where you can be assured of a frosty welcome. Ow. You know, I always had Sweden clocked as a dull place, the kind of place where there are only two things to do on the long, dark winter evenings. The second of which is thinking of new and interesting ways of getting to work in a morning. We begin with a motorised snowboard, which is more dangerous and harder to ride than a Bengal tiger. And now I'm going to try something a little more traditional. Oh, that's better. It's got an engine. What? Now, I've never really wanted a broken ankle, which is why I chose not to ride this. You see, on an ordinary snowmobile, the skis are part of the machine, but on this, they're not. Completely homemade and very impressive, but not as impressive as something I've just thought of. This looks a bit more serious. It was designed by a farmer who got fed up with having to ride round all the lakes on his land. So he fitted 4 flotation tanks to his tractor, and now he can simply drive across them. Of course, in the winter, i.e. now, the lakes are all frozen. Even so, you'd still think twice about taking an ordinary tractor out there. I mean, 12 tons on ice about that thick. But with this one, no problem. You see, if the ice breaks, it'll just float. The designer was most insistent on that. He assured me. And it's my job to test it. So I will. I will. Right. Oh, that tractor? Yeah, it worked fine. But for getting across a lake, frankly, I prefer one of these. It's called a Riva Aquarama, and it costs about 10 times more than an ordinary speedboat. About £250,000. Now that is an awful lot of money, but then this is an awful lot of boat. If you could combine Aston Martin, Ferrari and Rolls-Royce, you'd still be only halfway there.
'Cause nobody loves me. It's true.
For the full picture, to really understand what makes this wooden boat so special, you need to meet the man who designed it, styled it, engineered it, the man who can call the Aquarama his baby, Carlo Riva.
Quindi il nonno Ernesto faceva barche da trasporto qui sul lago e dopo il nonno Ernesto è venuto mio padre, Serafino, e mio padre incominciava a fare queste barche da turismo, diciamo, da passeggio, ma soprattutto è stato coinvolto nelle corse, a fare il racing boat. Subito dopo la guerra erano i tempi d'oro per l'Italia che aveva voglia di riprendere, di ricominciare, di rinascere, no? E c'era il fascino delle barche americane che di tanto in tanto arrivavano in Italia e io volevo arrivare a fare qualche cosa di simile. E c'era il conflitto enorme con mio padre, perché avevano sempre discussioni di lavoro continuo, finché un giorno io mi sono inginocchiato davanti a mio padre, c'era una bottiglia sul tavolo e ho detto: papà, tu puoi prendere quella bottiglia ma poi rompere sulla testa, ma ricordati che io voglio fare un cantiere per conto mio e voglio fare le barche come voglio io. E così ho incominciato.
He immediately doubled the price of the race boats to scare away his father's old customers. And then he began work on a new range of leisure craft to bring in the big spending high rollers. It worked and a huge factory rose from the shores of Lake Iseo. But it was the Aquarama that came along in 1965 that put him on the map. This was beautiful because God was in the details.
L'elemento principale è qualità. Io ho capito che per impormi sul mercato dovevo dare più qualità degli americani e l'abbiamo superata molto bene questa qualità. Nell'Aquarama c'è il meglio del meglio.
Now I've driven quite a few modern boats, but none is quite so together as this one. Just watch this. As I accelerate, now there are no trim tabs, but it stays absolutely perfectly balanced. That is amazing. It may be a simple machine, but it's not that easy to drive. Because if you see a tree coming, it's too late, you gotta hit it. You have to lean in, and eventually it will turn back. Top speed of this, at about 70 miles an hour. Turning circle, at about 70 miles. The fun-packed hovercraft should really have been designed by a Keith Richards look-alike, but no. Christopher Cockerell was the archetypal 50s British inventor who worked from a Nissan hut and demonstrated his new idea to the government using a hairdryer and an old tin can. Predictably, they spent less helping him than they did on the nose wheel of Concorde. They just couldn't see that one day hovercrafts would be used all over the world by pretty well everyone. Governments, eh? Who needs them? Now This is a hovercraft in its most basic form. It costs way less than £10,000, and for that you get a glass fibre hull, you get a seat made out of a petrol can, and a little 500cc engine that drives a big fan. Now, the bulk of the air that squirts out of the back is used to make me go forwards, and I simply turn the handlebars to choose my direction of travel. But some of it goes into that deep, dark tunnel down there and is used to inflate the skirts. It really couldn't be simpler.
Oh, now this is more like it. On water. Nothing to hit. No steering, no brakes, but it doesn't matter. I want one of these. I want one of these badly. You know what I want to do with that? I want to race one. I'm amazed nobody's thought to do that yet.
Actually, they have. It turns out there's even a world championship, which, in keeping with the hovercraft's backyard origins, was held last year in a French holiday village. I know, it looks like a village show, but there's no big marrows here. Just big crowds. And very big cojones. Teams have come from all over the place, even Australia.
To get to this World Championships, it's taken probably 18 months of preparation. The craft's grown out of about 7 years of development. Money, probably overall in excess of £15,000. You spend as much time sideways as you are going forwards. We don't have any brakes, so everything has to be anticipated. You're lined up for the corner 100 metres before the corner, which makes it rather unusual. The air's blasting out the back of these craft at 140 miles an hour.
You've got to be at one with the craft. You've got to really think about where it's going and what it's doing, and if you lose your concentration for a split second, you break your collarbone.
So, who won then? Well, I'm delighted to say it was the British who walked away with a prize fund estimated to be worth absolutely nothing.
Is it worth it? Well, we asked ourselves that many times. I suppose it's better than staying at home with a train set.
Not necessarily. Because here in Little Rock, Arkansas, home to Bill Clinton and America's nerve gas industry, is a train set like you simply wouldn't believe. Large, isn't it? Now, a great many people settle into their retirement with a nice Hornby 00. But Peter Smykler, king of the train spotters, bought a real train and, believing he'd still have some friends left, a carriage for passengers. Then he bought a couple of miles of track so that now he can spend his weekends going from one end to the other. Now, I can understand why people would want to save classic cars, because you can go charging around actually enjoying them, and same with classic planes. But classic trains, I mean, it's not that fast.
It's not that fast, and it's hard to find a piece of track. It took me 6 or 7 years of negotiations to get this little piece of track.
So what's the appeal, then, if it's kind of not fast and it's not exciting?
Well, it doesn't have to be fast to be fun.
It doesn't have to be fast to be fun. I must remember that. And it's going to cost an absolute fortune in fuel, hasn't it, every time you whiz it down to the end of your track and back?
Well, at low speed, it burns about 6 gallons an hour. So that's $6 roughly, or less.
So how often do you have to fill it up?
I haven't filled this thing since 1985.
interesting pastime, comparatively.
I take slides of railways all over the world, I guess.
How many have you got?
Well, I just really started in 1980, and I've taken some 60,000 slides since then.
60,000?
60,000, yes.
Of trains?
I mean, of trains.
Do you have an anorak?
What is that?
An anorak is like a coat with a furry bit round here and an orange lining. And train spotters wear them when they go down the end of railway platforms too.
No.
You don't have one?
No, I don't have that. No.
So can I blow your whistle then?
Yes, you can.
The problem here is that I never wanted to be a train driver when I was growing up. I always wanted to do nature programs. And now I get my chance. We're close. We're really, really close here. I'm in the woods on the border of Georgia and Alabama in the southeastern part of the United States. And I'm on the trail of the most menacing, deadly predator on the whole American continent. Whoa, whoa, look, there's a clearing. That's where they hang out. Yes, look here. Look, there it is. You see it? Look, get down. Believe me, that's a weight right now. It's got its radar on it, can see us as sure as eggs are eggs. What we'll do, oh, that's fantastic. Well, we'll wait till the morning. Come back then. Oh, we can get up really, really close. That's brilliant. The Gulf War began at 2:38 a.m. on January the 19th, 1991, when two of Saddam Hussein's most vital early warning radar stations suddenly went off the air. They'd been destroyed without warning in a hailstorm of rockets, missiles and heavy machine gun fire, all of which had come from an unseen swarm of ground-hugging Apache helicopter gunships. These machines became known among the Iraqi troops as the Black Death.
This helicopter is the Corps Commander's best asset. It's the most mobile. We can pop up from behind trees. We can move out from the side of a hill laterally.
Then, for hors d'oeuvre, it can serve up 1,200 shrapnel bullets, 4 air-to-air missiles, and 38 rockets. And then you have the pilots who, in this, the Viper Squadron, have a motto: shoot to kill.
Our job is to go deep as fast as we can, kill as many things as we can, and then get out.
The Apache carries 8 Hellfire missiles, each of which accelerates from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour in 2 seconds. They may only carry 14 pounds of explosives, but that is enough to completely annihilate a steel-reinforced concrete bunker, and there's still enough energy left over to make an 8-foot hole in the ground on the other side. Rather worrying, really.
The Hellfire is our primary weapon system. We use that for long standoff targets. We engage primarily heavy armor targets.
A tank?
Yes, sir, a tank.
And how much of a mess would a Hellfire make of a tank?
A Hellfire makes a really good mess of a tank.
And how much do they cost?
The Hellfires today are running about anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000, depending on the model that you're using at the time.
$60,000?
Yes, sir.
You need to make sure you're going to hit it then.
Yes, sir.
It will, because the Apache has turned Firefox science fiction into science fact. It can see a target 3 miles away, even at night, through its wart, that nose-mounted camera. How do you make the camera look where you want to go?
Well, right here on the aircraft, we have sensor surveying units that spray out IR energy. There's one on each side of the pilot's head.
What's IR energy?
It's infrared energy.
Yeah.
And we have these infrared detectors on 2 on each side of the helmet. And using geometry and trigonometry, it triangulates the position of your head and it sends a signal to move the sensor to where your head is looking.
So you turn your head,
And the camera turns with your head.
And the gun as well?
If you want it to, if you select the gun as your weapon.
Gosh. And there's more, because someone still has to fly this 225-mile-an-hour twin-engined, 3,500 horsepower monster, usually in the dark.
It's this flying at night business that fascinates me. How on earth do you see where you're going?
We have a sensor that's mounted 10 feet forward and 3 feet down from the pilot's seat that picks up infrared energy, converts it through electrical signals to a video signal, and it projects it on this monocle right here that we clip to our helmet right in front of our eye, so we can see our whole world in infrared. You have a binocular rivalry. Your left eye is usually mainly focused on the cockpit instruments, making sure all the instrumentation is correct and all the systems are working correctly, and your right eye is used to fly.
You're joking?
No, completely serious.
So you can operate both eyes independently of one another?
Yes, we learn how to do that.
Okay, you're sitting in a helicopter being shot at, yeah, and the thing's violently moving around, and you've got one eye looking at a monocle, and the other one looking at the thing, and you're trying to find enemy targets.
Right.
How on earth do you keep it all together?
Practice.
Practice is the main reason why of the 235 Apaches sent to the Gulf, 234 came home. Between them, they destroyed more than 500 enemy tanks. But now it's peacetime, and they can just get up there and fool around.
Is this a big boy's toy?
You can look at it as a big boy's toy because it's very maneuverable, you know, and when you get to go out on live fire exercises, you know, you get to just have fun with it. We get paid to do this, so it's not a better deal around, I don't think. I love what I do. It's a good job. I'm glad I can serve my country doing something like this. If you have to go to combat, this is what I'd want to be in.
Next year, the British Army is buying 67 Apaches, the best gunship in the world being flown by the best pilots. Should be quite a combination.